What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, and guys, we got a very, very good weekend coming up. Not only is it Haskell Saturday, but we are covering the Late Pick5 at Saratoga this Saturday, July 19th, and it is a doozy with the Grade 1 Coaching Club America Oaks. Welcome in, everyone. Thank you guys all so much for joining the show. We greatly appreciate it. And if you do enjoy the podcast, please go down below the video player, hit the like button, and hit the subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it because not only is it the number one way to help out our channel, is completely free to do, but it also pushes these podcasts and our others out into the YouTube algorithm to hopefully bring like-minded horse players to the HHH Racing Podcast. And of course, for that, we thank you. As you can see on the bottom of the screen right now, our normal podcast schedule every single week as it scrolls by. Every single Tuesday is Pacific Horseplayers at 9:30 p.m. Eastern with Noah, Ryan, and Jackson as they covered the opening day at Del Mar. Fantastic racing coming this summer from the track out in Del Mar, California. And if you're interested in that, you don't want to miss an episode of Pacific Horseplayers going forward. We here, of course, Bettin N Boozin every single Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are covering, of course, Saratoga tonight, and then tomorrow, Picks and Ponies at 8 p.m. Eastern. Every single Thursday is Howard, Pete, and Paul, and they are covering Haskell Saturday and the Pick5 ending in the Haskell Stakes. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic show. Do not want to miss that. You can also listen to all our shows on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Find us on TikTok and Instagram at Bettin N Boozin Podcast. You can find us over at hhhracingpodcast.com, where you can see our Saratoga and Del Mar Power Picks are still available. However, guys, Saratoga, the deadline is tomorrow. You need to sign up by tomorrow to get this full meet of Saratoga Power Picks for every single weekend race date. That's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So go sign up for those if you have not already. They already have paid for themselves. Last week, they did very well. Of course, the Del Mar, you have a week to sign up until the 24th, which is next Thursday from the taping of this podcast. Of course, you can also subscribe to our normal Power Picks, patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast for that. And that's every single Saturday. You'll get 2 full tracks of price plays, spot plays, and pick 5 grids. Guys, before we get into the Saratoga handicapping, those that have followed the podcast for a long time know that myself and a bunch of others on this podcast have been really good partners with Crown's Way Racing. And for those that don't know, it's a syndicate that started out in Chicago and has grown exponentially now, as we have 2 runners coming up this weekend in stakes races. And to talk about both of them, I wanted to bring on the owner and founder, of course, of Crown's Way Racing, a good friend of mine, Tony Rallo. Tony, my friend, talk about a dang weekend, man. We're going to have a blast.
Hey, Kyle, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, look, I kind of tipped my hand a little bit talking about Haskell Saturday, but we have a big day coming up, both Saturday and Sunday. Of course, Saturday being the feature of the entire weekend, as Vote No, a horse that you and others and us have recently claimed for $50,000, now runs in the Grade 2 United Nations, the race before the Haskell on Saturday. So, Tony, talk about it, because I know you have a long standing with this horse. You can talk about the sale when you originally noticed him, and then what led you to claim him for $50,000.
Yeah, so as you stated, this was a horse that we had a lot of interest in at the June sale a couple of years ago. Obviously, being a Divisadero out of a More Than Ready, that kind of pedigree is just built for me and Crown's Way, and specifically, we got a lot of turf horses, so we loved him at the sale. We were down there with just kind of a limited budget, trying to see if we can find something on a bargain, and we stopped at 40, which in a retrospect probably should have kept bidding, but we were happy to be able to get him this winter. When he got put in for a tag, I texted Kelsey and said, hey, I've had my eye on this horse. Let's take a look at him. And then we were happy to bring John with NBS Stable on with us. I sent it to John, and John's like, absolutely, let's drop on this guy. And it's worked out since.
Yeah, that's an understatement, obviously, for sure. Those that have been following us, Vote No won an allowance race at Indiana. Then he went to the Cape Henlopen at Delaware Park And this was, it was Kelsey led this charge, Tony, and you can talk about that as well. From the immediately, you texted me, he was like, Kelsey wants to run this horse longer. Obviously, the Cape Henlopen from an Indiana allowance, that went a mile. Cape Henlopen was a mile and a half, but obviously the confidence was fully there. And now they're putting him into the United Nations.
Yeah, so I didn't have any sort of inkling that we should marathon this horse when we claimed him. I thought, he's been strong, going anywhere from 6 furlongs to a mile. Obviously, Kentucky Downs was an option, was always in the back of our minds. We'd like to run a lot of horses there. And Kelsey got him, and within a week, she started texting me saying, I think this horse wants the marathon. Let's look at long with this horse. And I guess after the Indiana win, Adam Beschizza got off him as well and said, I think you want to marathon this horse. And now when they're both saying it, I told Kelsey, you know what, if you think so and Adam thinks so, then let's take the swing and let's stretch him out. And obviously the Cape Henlopen, he proved that they were correct in their assumption.
Yeah, very correct. And obviously, I have a funny story for that. The bettors were also very correct, Tony. Somehow in the last 30 seconds, the bettors were very correct as you went into the gate at 8-1 and ended up going out of the gate at 2-1. But yeah, I mean, that Cape Henlopen was fantastic. And obviously, I've talked to you many times. He looks to be coming in this race really well. And the way they drew the race yesterday, he drew perfectly in the 6 post, and he looks to fit very well in a race with a lot older horses, with him being, I think he's only 4, right, still?
Yes, he's a 4-year-old.
So he looks to fit really well in there.
Yeah, I was worried that there'd be a lack of speed. With a horse like him, we're going to want to get him covered up and help him get the extra distance. So you always worried when you do that, is there going to be a lack of speed? But when you look at this race, I don't think there's any speed balls in there, but there's a bunch of horses that like to be forward. So I think we should get an honest enough pace in here. And in his last race, if you look back at the Cape Henlopen, he didn't settle all that great. He was kind of pulling on Paco and didn't get the cleanest of trip early. And then down the backside, the second time around, it looked like Paco finally got him to relax and kind of was able to catch his breath before turning for home. So if we can get him relaxed earlier in the race, I think there's room for improvement there second time going the marathon distance.
I fully agree with you. Obviously, Tony, those that podcast don't know, both Patrick and I will be at the Haskell. If he's running, then we have to go. I said that to Emma immediately. I'm like, if this horse is running in this race, we're going. There's no question about that. So obviously we'll be in attendance. And if any podcast listeners are going to be in attendance on Saturday, please DM me on Twitter at APRoscoeK. Would love to meet up with you guys on Saturday. But Tony, not to be overshadowed, obviously we're going to have a ton of fun out in New Jersey. But look, the man of the barn for a long time, being Shards behind me, he also runs in a stakes race on Sunday. I believe the Connaught Cup, I believe is how you say it, and it's going to be at Woodbine. That you did scratch out of a race on Indiana Derby Day, which we also covered on this show. So, that was going a mile in the 16th. The Connaught Cup's going at 7 furlongs. So a little bit of your thinking on Shards before we let you go, and then we'll get started with Saratoga.
Yeah, we definitely want to stretch Shards out at some point. And the mile and a 16th was a little bit further than we wanted, especially first stretching out. We're looking for a mile race. But then we saw this as an option, and it's 7/8. It's still one turn, but it's more in the distance we're looking to go with him. And just based off the nominations, it looks like a pretty balanced group. I know, unfortunately, with Patches O'Houlihan passing, I think it's left a little bit of a vacuum there as far as who's going to be the top dog. And obviously you never want to benefit off of something like that happening, but we're going to take our shot and see how we belong there. And I think it'd be a different story if Patches was in there, but I think will draw a very interesting and well-balanced field. And Shards has shown the ability that on his good day, he can pop a real good number and he could fit right in here.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I like Woodbine is one of those tracks that you find these really weird. I was joking. You find these really weird races, right? These 7 furlong turf efforts because of the configuration of the turf course out in Toronto. But look, man, I love the fact that you've always said he's been better at 6. Obviously, he ran very well at Keeneland and 5.5, and even the Breeders' Cup at 5. But you've mentioned he's always been better going longer.
Yeah,
and the fact that
Turfway wins this winter.
Right, exactly. Going 6 and now going 7. It's kind of that in between distance where I feel like he could really benefit going forward too.
Yeah, and he's still 4-2, so still developing a little bit with him as well. And we'll see if these horses can really put us on the right foot headed into Kentucky Downs, because there'll be a lot of long turf sprints at Kentucky Downs and there'll be marathons. So
and there definitely
both of them should fit pretty well there.
I mean, look, man, we'll have a blast. And if they're there, we'll be there as well. Tony, my friend, thanks a lot for joining in. Obviously, with such a big weekend coming up and obviously a great friend of the podcast, we'd love to have you on to talk about our couple of horses. Tony, my friend, thanks again. And I will see you this weekend.
Yep. We'll see you in New Jersey, Kyle.
Appreciate it, Tony. Thanks a lot. Obviously, Tony Rollo of Crownsway Racing, a huge weekend coming up for us. So appreciate everyone's time and sticking with us through that. Now we will get into the nitty-gritty of the handicapping. Of course, I need my co-hosts to be able to do that. First, from the East Coast of New Jersey, Patrick Kunsel, and not the man Chuckles. We have our favorite fill-in, ladies and gentlemen, the host of Pacific Horseplayers, Noah Maher. Gentlemen, fantastic weekend coming up. And again, like I mentioned, even though Haskell Day is here, this card's not to be overshadowed. There's a lot of very good races in this card.
Yeah,
it's very good.
I'm excited to be there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we're there, but we're not there, Pat. We're going to have a blast, let me tell you. That's for damn sure. Obviously, as I mentioned, Pat will be with me on Haskell Day, as well as my beautiful wife and Pat's beautiful girlfriend that will be attending as well. Guys, let's get right into the handicapping here. But of course, we have to go to the chat first. Katie was here bright and early. As always, the boss was here as well. Our Stephanie, my mom, was here as well. Terry Frank is here. Again, ton of people. Courtney, Tony's wife, I will miss you. And Emma, I was actually just going to ask that that question if you were going to be there or not, Courtney. So, of course, we will miss you, but go vote no, absolutely. Jim Pillars, of course, is here as well. And if you guys are new to these live podcasts, live chat both on YouTube and X on the right-hand side of the screen, please put in the live chat your opinions. We would love to hear them. Guys, we'll get right into the handicapping here, and that starts in race number 8. It's actually starting off with an extremely competitive race, going that distance of the aforementioned United Nations Stakes, the 1 3/8 on the turf. And as I bring up the Equibase right now, give me 1 second. It's an allowance optional for $110,000. Again, going 1 3/8 on the inner turf course at Saratoga. And as I bring it up on the screen right now, sorry guys, you will see the morning line favorite is a pretty lukewarm one, the number 9, Padiddle, Ricardo Santana Jr. for Fernando Abreu at 7-2. Second choice is the number 4, Taraj, for first time out for Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott. And the third choice is shared between the number 7, Mayor of Midnight, and the number 10, Steadfast Resolve. And actually, and as you see, I mentioned that this race was wide open, and we're all completely different on top. Pat is going with the number 4, Taraj, and Noah is going with the number 6, Better Lucky Than Good. And finally, some Adelphi representation on this show, because Matt Cutera gives me the utmost amount of crap for when I don't pick his horses on top. But Noah, I'll start with you just to give, obviously, Adelphi Racing Club, fantastic friends of the podcast, their due. I think this horse is also very live, as I have him in third. I actually had him in second for a long time and ended up just finding more reasons with the 10 than the 6, but obviously you feel the other way.
Yeah, I think he's got a real shot in here. I mean, last time he was off since November, and I thought his effort was honestly pretty good. I mean, he was at the back of the pack, and he kind of made this wide and sustained move to kind of get within striking range at the top of the stretch. And Husher the Storm, who's a pretty nice horse, kind of got the jump on him, but couldn't quite get to Clear Conscience. And he's kind of always been one of those horses where he doesn't really necessarily have a turn of foot. He's a little more grindy. So I wonder if the the mile and 3/8 is something that the Clemonts always thought that he'd maybe be good at. And they're finally taking a shot here. Second off the layoff. Kind of ran a pretty even race last time in terms of buyer numbers and time form numbers. I think he's going to take a big step up, and you get their main man Rosario to take him around. And hopefully you guys can hear me because it's quite loud. But 6-1, I'm loving, and I like his chances in here.
That's the truck backing up for the amount of money you're putting on the horse. I can hear it.
Yeah, it's dropping off all his winnings from last weekend. But either way, the employee of the month photo pops up. God, I love that photo. It's so funny. Either way, I think this horse is live as well, considering a lot of these horses races at 1 1/8 and 1 1/16. A lot of them have him closing just at the right time. And we talk about this a lot on this show where a lot on the show where even though these horses that are claimed, that are running at these types of distances and they look like they're just getting there, that might just be because that horse has a fantastic turn of foot for that distance. It doesn't necessarily mean they want more distance. However, being with the breeding and everything else on number 6, Better Lucky Than Good, I think he also has a very, very good shot to win this race. 0 for 3 at Saratoga if you're a horse for course person. However, he's done fantastic at Aqueduct, so I really don't see there being any reason why Better Lucky Than Good can't take another step forward in here. He is 5. He's basically in the prime of his career now, and this will be second off the layoff. So that's another angle I really like. Obviously, the only thing that people that I have against Better Lucky Than Good is he's running all against State Bred Company, and now he's taking on Open Company for the first time, which can be a negative angle there. However, I still do like Better Lucky Than Good's chances to at least catch a piece. Pat, you have a horse in here, and Noah, you have him in second too. I didn't know what the hell to do with this horse, to be completely honest with you. I have my doubts, but obviously you have him on top. Noah has him on second, so maybe I'm just missing something.
Yeah, watching that work on XBTV on the 14th, actually watching it in person, if you put that work up, you'll see us in the corner. It's kind of funny. We were watching that, and Howard pointed out, the horse just really wants turf. It's obvious. Running was on the dirt that day. But I just think that, the class that this horse was facing, this is going a while back now. It's obviously a layoff. He should fit right in here. Distance shouldn't be a problem, in my opinion. Sometimes Mott does need one start in them before they're fully cranked up, which does worry me a little bit. But I just think he's kind of the class of the field in here. There's just a couple in here that I just, I have to nitpick, and I'm going to trust the 4, the consistent works in here. And hopefully the layoff isn't too big of a problem.
And then that's one of the things, Noah. This kind of just feels like, for me, if I were to put this horse in there, it's almost like in Mott I trust angle. Because if he's throwing him at 1 1/4, obviously the horse is most likely ready for the 1 1/4. But again, I have my reservations about that. But yeah, he's working fantastic.
Well, I think the talent's there. I mean, he was only a length off of Los Angeles back in May of last year. And then, last time didn't work out and was off for a while. But we actually had the benefit of seeing the workout report because he was entered in a race last weekend, I believe. I think it was Saturday that got rained off. And I went back and looked, and he had been working bees up until then. So, and I had actually watched the work pad, and maybe I'll go back and watch it just to see you and Howard in there. But because when I watched it, I didn't really see I didn't really like what I necessarily saw. But he's a turf horse through and through, so I'm not really too worried about that. But just in terms of the layoff, Kyle, I understand it. It'll be interesting to see what he is on the board, because I feel like there's a good chance that he's favored in here. But at the same time, I feel like if he's like 4-1, 9-2, 5-1, I would kind of almost be extremely concerned, because aren't these connections supposed to get bet? And I feel like the talent's there, right?
Yeah, that's you hit it on the head. Is that I don't want to touch this horse at like 3-1, but if he's 5-1, that's also a red flag for me. So it's kind of a weird thing for this is. And a lot of these horses kind of stinks because a lot of the past performance data isn't available. However, the Grandsire Oasis Dream was a very nice turf sprinter over in Europe, multiple Group 1 winner. But then, out of Galileo, Churchill was best at 1 mile or shorter. So again, I might just being a little bit too much in the weeds here. I probably should just say in Belmont I trust. But off the layoff, a horse, I agree with you. No, I don't think this horse is going to be anywhere. I think he's going to be favored as well. I mean, there's really no one else in here that's done that much. I think it's, and Howard said it as well, I think the field's kind of weak for the level. I agree. And that's why I think if Taraj is favored, because people see them, the Euro breeding and they think he can go longer, Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado, all these different culmination of factors, I think he could be favored in here. And that's when I don't want to touch him at all. But again, maybe I'm just being a little too nitpicky. I went with Mayor of Midnight, guys. And this is my problem also with Mayor of Midnight, is because being with the connections, this horse could also be bet down to favoritism. And if he's bet down to favoritism, if he's like 7-2, 3-1, I don't want this horse to touch this horse at all. But if this horse is like 9-2, that's when I will be betting this horse with both hands. Because based off that last race, he only was shown up by a head, but he fought the whole way down the stretch with some very nice horses out in New York. And if he can replicate that type of move, especially if he's going to sit mid-pack as well, I think he's got a fantastic chance to win this race. And you don't have him anywhere. Pat, you have him third, and I understand the reservations because this is a much tougher spot than the last one. However, again, I don't know if it's as tough a spot as it really could be, and he closed into a really slow pace last time, Pat.
Yeah, he did. Kyle, and all the points you're making are valid. Kind of that steady progression for Chad, which is always nice to see. I don't know. I just think this horse needs to improve a little bit more, and obviously can. Just kind of watching this. I don't know about I don't know how impressive it was visually. You know what I mean? I just thought he was kind of just hanging on there. But listen, has been able to work steadily down at Belmont, so could be ready for this.
Yeah, I was in between him and the 5 for third. I wonder if Franco will maybe be a little more aggressive because there's not a ton of speed in here. I think the 5 Navy SEAL will probably be close, and then I think Carmouche is on the 1. I think he'll probably be pretty aggressive from the inside. So I wouldn't really be surprised if the 7 ended up kind of being third and only a couple lengths down the backside as you throw up the time for him. I guess my worry isn't necessarily just him. It's just kind of horses in general when they beat maiden horses and then they face winners for the first time. And I understand the point that this maybe isn't the greatest race in terms of the level is concerned. But I mean, you got some decent horses in here. I mean, Better Lucky Than Good was in a stake last time. I know the 9, who Pat will touch on real quick, is I think he's multiple graded stakes plays. So, I mean, I think the field's decent enough. It's just a big step up. And like you said, Kyle, he might take some action on the board. And I don't really know if I want to take him if that happens.
The first time facing winners in a race like this, But Galileo Mare, Lopa de Vega, I really love the breeding on this horse as well. Speaks all types of turf marathon distance. Just a matter of, again, what value will you get on him? And I'll touch on that in my best bets in a little bit, because that will be the deciding factor on if I'm sitting next to Pat on Saturday placing a bet on this horse and watching it on the TV or not. But the number 9 Padiddle, Pat, is one horse. Like I said, this is one we're going to spend a little bit more time on because of how just wide open it is. Padiddle is a horse that's run very good numbers. However, for me, I didn't know if this horse wanted this type of distance either. Obviously, he's ran very well and won that Gulfstream race. However, wasn't against really anybody, and that was a very fast pace for a 1 3/8. Now coming into this race, has he probably faced some of the best horses out of the entire field? For sure, but, he's not necessarily been too close. But again, that argument comes through of, what would Farbridge be in a race like this? Not that he would be, but obviously.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good point. It's funny. This horse, took his 8th try to break his maiden, and then goes right into the Pan American at Gulfstream, and is now running in the Man of War and the Belmont Gold Cup. So I think the connections believe in this horse, which is kind of makes me think that this horse has something. It kind of falls into this allowance spot where it gives me some confidence. It's going to be interesting as to what Ricardo does, because obviously this horse has run at this distance twice and has hit the board both times. But I do think this horse needs to be aggressive and needs a fast pace to have a shot.
And that was my thinking with him, is that if there's no pace, if there's not that pace stool in front of him, they don't go 112 flat for 3/4. If this horse is going to have enough down the lane, but if he can runs back to those 90s, he can absolutely catch a piece. I have the number 10 Steadfast Resolve, and this is that same angle, Pat, of this horse is going to be so far back. Would love to see him a little bit more forward. Liscano hops aboard, which of course is a little bit of a downgrade. However, he always comes with his run, and if there's one that's going to be a little bit better of a price than a horse like Padiddle, I'd much rather have the number 10 Steadfast Resolve. Obviously, Rapoli, St. Elias stable. There's a ton of, and I agree with your point, Howard, as he says how many other horses in this field would only lose to Farbridge by 4 lengths. But the thing that I didn't like was they were diminishing, 4 lengths, 6 lengths. Like, he was there, especially in the Man of War when he ran, but he was fading back by the 16th pole, which is what's giving me reservations about his distance. But again, I couldn't completely understand that sentiment. I like Steadfast Resolve to kind of take a little bit bigger of a step forward here. He's only 4. This will be realistically 3rd off of that, Breeders' Cup type layoff for him, even though he's had a pretty decent gap in between races. Going to need pace to close into. Not sure if he'll get it, but he always brings his run and I think can catch a piece at a decent price. Noah, last horse we'll talk about, and then we'll move on, I promise, is Navy SEAL. You mentioned it a little bit, but he's shown the ability to be close, does kind of run that trip where he runs very well at the, he's ran at Kentucky Downs and just diminished, coming down the stretch. However, Kentucky Downs is Kentucky Downs. And if he can get up and just sit off a horse, maybe like the 1, or maybe even just get the lead, he could easily just be dangerous.
I think that's probably the logical way that he wins. When he first came over, you see, and obviously he was in the Canterbury race, but his first 3 turf starts, he was only 2 lengths off the lead. He was on the lead at Kentucky Downs, going 1 mile and 5/16. And then he was really close to Churchill. And then since then, they've kind of switched the tactics on him, which maybe he does have some versatility in the end. But even his races where he was coming from off of it, I thought his Keeneland race was good. If Rosario didn't, do what he normally does, I think he wins there. And then he was favored in that race at Churchill and was closing well late. So I wonder if they switched the tactics with Espinoza on him, and just think he sits a really good trip in there.
Yeah, and I love that Espinoza is trying to revamp his career out here. Obviously, Wesley Ward does believe in him, so we'll see how he does. And Howard thinks he sucks, and says watch him win Saturday. And if he steals it on the front end, won't be the first time I've seen that one happen at Saratoga. And real quick, guys, I have an incoming weather report from, obviously everyone loves a good weather report. I know Paul Halloran's watching out there, but as I get into the weather, it's going to be perfectly fine on Saturday. There's no worry about the weather. And when I say this, it's probably going to now downpour. However, everyone just be quiet about the weather. It's going to be fine. I show 2% chance of rain for both Friday and Saturday. So finally, we should get some really nice Saratoga turf racing. Now, outside the studio and moving on to the next race. I'm going 7-10-6. Pat's going 4-9-7. Noah's going 6-4-5. Guys, moving on to race number 8, and this starts the very, very good racing. It's the Caress. It's a grade 3 going 5.5 on the Saratoga turf course. Field of 9, 3 MTOs, which, as I just mentioned, will not be carded into this race. However, again, leaves us with a field of 9 and a very good one at that. Morning line favorite is the Maryland bred, the mainstay in this division, the number 7. Future is now Paco Lopez and Mike Trombetta at 5-2. Second choice, the winner last time out here at Saratoga, the number 6, Pipsy, Jose Ortiz and Will Walden at 7-2. And the third choice is the number 5, Pandora's Gift, Joel Rosario, Miguel Clement at 5-1. Switching over to the picks right now, both Noah and I are going with the morning line favorite. Future is now. However, Pat's going a little bit off the board here, guys, as he's going with a horse that neither Noah or I have anywhere. And like I said, I would love to hear why we're wrong. Pat, what'd you like most about the number 8, Time to Dazzle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys are going to be wrong here, but I want to, I want to go off the beaten path in this race. Turf sprint, this division's just they seem to butt heads these fillies in every time. And I just feel like Time to Dazzle, the way the Cassie Barnes going right now, I didn't think the Intercontinental was that as bad as it actually looked. Could have gone a little bit of a better ride by Javier. So now Dylan gets aboard. I'm hoping from the outside, is able to save ground at some point early on, and kind of makes one run. I know obviously he has one on the lead, but I think she's improving at the right time. And at 8-1, I'm willing to take her. I understand she was 27.5 to 1, in that last race. But I do think there's something there with her, guys. And I'm gonna try and beat Future Is Now and Pipsy, Pandora's Gift. I'm going to try and beat them in this spot, but I could be off base.
Look, everyone knows how much I love turf sprints, but again, Pat, if you want to beat those, there's really no one that stands out in this division like there has been in many years past. And Time to Dazzle ran fine last time, just kind of ran pretty evenly. Obviously, third off the layoff, you'd expect Time to Dazzle to take another step forward, and that'd be obviously fantastic for Mark Casse, as I showed on the screen earlier, where his win total is at. So Time to Dazzle, Pat, would love for you to be right. And no, I don't know about you. I tried to, I love in these races where, you try to find new, fresh faces, especially in a race where horses have run, basically 7 of them have ran against each other last time out. However, like I said, 7 of the 9 have ran against each other. And really, the other 2 didn't do anything for me at all. So it kind of just leaves this race here and what you think can happen, if they run the same race again, which you and I both went with Future Is Now, and I've been against her 3 races in a row, and I was right last time, however, with the wrong horse, and now I was wrong when I had Pandora's Gift in the Giants Causeway, and against her when I was in the Franklin with Pandora's Gift as well. So it's a whole mess, and now hopefully this time she can finally come through for us.
Let me just say this right now. There is no way in hell that Paco is letting Pipsy do what she did last time, because she got about the easiest of leads, as you can see. And I think she kind of turns the tables here just because she's to the outside now. I think she was the 2 in the Intercontinental and Pipsy was the 6. But Paco's going to be pressing her the whole time. And I think that might even work out for your 8, Pat, because the 7's going to be going. That way Dylan can just kind of tuck in and go from there. I just think Futures Now is the best horse in the race. I'm not, cutting lines to bet her at 5-2, but gun to my head, I got to make a top pick, and this is her. And obviously she likes it here at Saratoga, so she's got that little feather in her cap.
It's against my newfound religion, Noah, to lose money in turf sprints nowadays. So I completely understand. You hit the nail on the head for me. I love that she's drawn outside of Pipsy now, and I agree there's not a chance that Paco lets that happen again. Basically sits a half length back the whole way through. I think she's better animal than Pipsy is, and if she gets up to her, her neck, head by the top of the stretch, I think it could be as good as over. But obviously I think Pipsy can still run well. I have her in third. But yeah, obviously a lot of people are Jim Pilar says I would be surprised to see Paco at Saratoga Saturday instead of his home base of Monmouth on their big day. So are we with vote no, of course, as Paco rode vote no down at Delaware. However, obviously with Future Is Now, who he's been riding 7 times in a row now, and Bookham Dano as well for Derek Ryan. So that's going to be where Paco's going to follow his very nice horses that he gets to ride on in there. Pat, I love that you have this horse in second. This is a horse that was up close to the lead first time off the layoff, basically doing what I thought Future Is Now would be doing. Never really kicked in down the lane. However, I think that Carmouche is going to be just as aggressive last time and should be a lot more fresh second off the layoff.
Yeah, listen, if I have Time to Dazzle, I have to have her in here. I think that her race was a little bit better than Time to Dazzle, and it was off a layoff. I just wonder, if she's just as good as these. That is the question. But I think she should get the stalking trip. She should be sitting 3rd or 4th, I think, in here.
I would agree. And
I'm hoping that she'll move up off the second start. And the one thing, and I know Noah brought it up with Pipsy on the lead. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that turf course was like a highway. That you were on the lead there, you were home free pretty much. Forget the fractions. So I think there's going to be more cut in the ground, and that should benefit some of these coming from the back of the pack.
I agree. And I love the fact that she took a big jump up from 3 to 4. Excuse me. And now second off the layoff, I'd imagine she could only get better. If she hits right off of horses like Pipsy and Futures now, she could easily stay in to catch a piece. Last horse I want to talk about, we've seen obviously Pandora's Gift a lot. We know what she is. Twirling Queen, Noah, is a horse that ran well at Del Mar in the Senator K. Maddie last November. However, hasn't really done the same since coming back. However, if you're looking second off the layoff, this is probably another horse you'd like at a good price.
Yeah, I'm going to have you do me a favor and bring up the replay and get it to as close to the 101 and 102 mark as you can, please.
Yes, sir.
Look at him. He's got his times ready.
I know he's got
timestamps. I prepare for this shit, you know?
Yeah.
This is the Intercontinental. And she is the 5, and Howard actually put it in the chat. She did kind of get a little bit of a weird trip, but Kyle, if you could maybe if you can actually pause it at the 101, 102 mark.
Oh, okay. What do you got for me?
Try it again. See that black thing just to the left of her head? You see that hanging there? You can kind of see it dangling when she's running.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
I have no idea what that is, but I have a feeling that some kind of equipment broke. I don't know if it was a rein or if it was something to do with her saddle or girth, but there's just a big black piece of something hanging there. And obviously that doesn't really have much to do with her trip, but it just kind of goes to show that everything just kind of went wrong for her. And I think if you're looking just at the PPs, obviously she's had success at Saratoga before. She won the Coronation Cup back here on July, about the same time around this time last year. Just basing off of the running line last time, she got a 76, which obviously, she got a 79. But she's going to be a huge price in here. I mean, the longest price in the race is the 9, who's 20 to 1. And I feel like she's going to be anywhere from 12 to 15. So I just wanted to give her one more shot just because I thought the race last time was really, really weird for her.
You got freaking Sherlock Holmes in this crap, man. You got people deducing frame by frame video on what went wrong on the horse. Obviously, look, man, we love it. And look, if she can get back to either that race in the Coronation Cup last year or in the Senator K. Maddie, she's easily fits in with these horses. Obviously, just a matter of can she replicate those back then, as Misael Jaramillo comes in for this day and picks up the mount for Jose D'Angelo, obviously, who rides for D'Angelo a lot down at Gulfstream Park. So would love to see how Twirling Queen does on Saturday. In race 9, guys, I'm going 7-4-6. Pat's going 8-4-7. Noah's going 7-5-3. Guys, now we start getting into the really good stuff. This starting with the only grade one of the day, which we'll talk about in a second, is the Coaching Club of American Oaks, guys, or the Coaching Club American Oaks, excuse me. It is a grade 1 going, I'm trying to pull it up. Hold on. Come on. Equibase. There we go. All right. Going 1 1/8, again, by invitation. 500,000 is the purse, draws a field of 6, with the morning line favorite being the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Champion, Immersive Juvenile Fillies, of course. Immersive at 8-5. Lucara, the grade 1 winner last time out, at 2-1, and your third choice is shared between the number 3, Scottish Lassie, and the number 4, Take Charge Milady. And surprisingly, we're all going with different horses in this race. In a field of 6, I'm going with Lucara, Pat's going with Immersive, and Noah, you are going with Take Charge Milady. No, Pat, I'll let you go first since you have Immersive. Obviously, not too much to talk about. She was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies champion last year, and very easily the champion last year. Came back at Churchill in the Monomoy Girl. Probably not the best effort. However, you'd imagine she'd get better second off the layoff.
Yeah, and Kyle, I honestly thought it was a good effort considering I think Manny Franco's going to want that ride back. I'm not sure that was the greatest of rides there. He could have waited a little bit longer. But listen, this is kind of one of those days. She needs to win this race, because if she doesn't win, things could go a little south for her, as impressive as she's been. But I'm not going to try and beat her in this spot. I do understand. I was very close of picking the 4. I had some appreciation for her over the year. But I just think Immersive is going to be able to sit second. I hope right off Lacara, and should go by them in the stretch. Now, you do have to question the price. I'm not sure 8-5 is really valid. Lacara does seem to be the lone speed, right, guys?
I mean, you could see it from my picks, my brother in Christ. But Noah, obviously, you have Immersive in there as well. This is just one of those things where I don't know. I mean, I know, and Howard kind of took what I wanted to say in the chat. This is probably exactly what they're pointing for, right? They're trying to find a race to get her back in sometime in June. They landed on the Monomoy girl. And like I said, she ran fine, but she didn't run necessarily great. But again, if you'd imagine this is number one, in mind for her, you'd imagine she'd be cranked, especially with that last work at Churchill.
I kind of hope our good buddy Paul Halloran's not listening to this show, because I kind of feel like the chickens are coming home to roost with these Godolphin 3-year-old fillies. I'm just not very impressed with them. I really just do not think that they're anything special. And I understand the fact that, maybe she wasn't cranked or whatever last time. Isn't it kind of the same thing for Take Charge Milady? I mean, she had all those foot issues going into the Oaks.
Right.
And then, I mean, we know Kenny McPeak very well. I mean, the Monomoy girl is not going to be the end all be all for this horse. It looks like they were kind of pointing towards this. And I kind of thought, even though maybe that wasn't the greatest ride on Immersive, I thought Take Charge Milady kind of just beat her on the square. I mean, they were duking it out in the stretch. Take Charge Milady got the upper hand. And, I think she's going to be better coming into this race. I mean, it really leads me to believe that they're pointing to bigger spots like this. And if you scroll down a little bit, Kyle, she's always been a pretty good worker. I mean, she's rattled off some like sub 48s, 4 furlongs and stuff. How about the 47 flat last time, best of 60? I mean, it looks like she's breathing fire in the mornings. If the 5 makes Lacara work, which I'm kind of hoping softens her up a little bit, I think this is really going to set up good for Take Charge Milady. I like her a lot on Saturday.
Yeah, and look, I had her in second. I probably should have just kept her in second, to be completely honest, because I'm kind of with you, Noah, on the Immersive thing. But I've been on her so many times, and last time, obviously, I benefited from that. But she really hasn't run that effort that I want her to run. And Bayer has her at an 85. Timeform has her, I believe, at about like a 109 or something like that. Yeah, 109 on the square. Last time she got a 106. That 109 she ran in the Ashland, second to Lacara. And I've been on her every single time, and I really wanted to pick her on top this time as well, but I can't get over how the track's playing at Saratoga and how it has been playing. And if Dry Powder just, frankly, is not fast enough to keep up with a horse like Lacara, who I've been completely against probably every single time this horse has ran. I swear to God, every single time this horse has ran, I've been completely against her. And she's proven me wrong time and time and time again. I just can't see a way. If less Dry Powder blitzes out of the gate, which again is very possible because that's probably the only way she wins this race, is by doing that. But if Dylan slows down that pace up front and she runs how she has in her last, 4 of 5 races or 3 of 5 races, this race is good as over. Is frankly how I see it. And obviously it'll all come down to the 5, who is the key horse in this race from a pace scenario standpoint. However, I don't see her being as fast or as good as Lacara. And Lacara has sat off before. She has closed in the Pocahontas. I don't think that's the way where she does her best running. However, I think this is just kind of my breakdown per se. I'm just going to go with her. I think she's the best horse in the field when she gets on the lead. And if she gets on the lead, like I think she will, this race almost is as good as over. So we'll see what happens. But the last horse I want to at least quickly mention is Scottish Lassie in this race, who ran in the Acorn behind Lacara last time out. Kind of ran very evenly. I think she's a lot better sitting in that, first flight position, just taking in the leaders. And if she's going to sit, next to Immersive, if she's 4 times the price that Immersive is, I mean, I would rather have her than Immersive, because realistically, she's run the same exact races as Immersive has, just obviously minus that big Breeders' Cup win, as she won the Frazette last year with a 90. In the Acorn, she ran an 89. there's no reason why she can't catch a piece at a nice middling price of 5-1, especially with Immersive, the horse that's probably going to be the favorite in this race. 84, 85, 83. Scottish Lassie last time won. If you're a buyer person, ran an 89 in the Acorn and a 90 in the Frazette. So arguably, she's ran better races on paper than Immersive has, and Immersive again is going to be a third of the price on Saturday. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of things. Siggy, my friend, Siggy says Lucara will slow down the pace. Says in a full field with a different pace scenario, I would pick Immersive on Saturday. I want Lucara. I completely agree with you, Siggy. We'll see how right we are on Saturday. In the coaching club, American Oaks, I'm going 6-1-4. Pat's going 1-4-6. Noah's going 4-6-1. Guys, before we get to what I think is by far the best race on the entire day, if you guys are enjoying the podcast, whether you're watching live or as a replay, please go down below the video player here and hit the like button and the subscribe button. We'd greatly appreciate it. We do these podcasts basically at least 3 times every single week, and we would greatly appreciate it if you enjoy the podcast to keep coming back again, because we do this 52 weeks out of the entire year. It's not just 5 weekends when the racing gets good is when we do this. So again, leave a like button. Hit the like button if you guys enjoyed. We'd greatly appreciate it, guys. The race that was downgraded from a grade 1 to a grade 2 this year. This is gonna ignite some pretty good conversation, I think. It's the Alfred G. Vanderbilt handicap, and like I said, by far the best race on the entire day. It's a field of 8, going 6 furlongs on the Saratoga dirt for 400,000. Field of 8, like I said. Morning line favorite is the New Jersey bred, the number 5, Bookham Dano, Paco Lopez, Derek Ryan at 5-2. Second choice is horse I loved last time out, the number 4, Mulligan, Jose Ortiz, Rudy Brissett at 7-2. And the third choice is the number 1, Skelly, Ricardo Santana, and Steve Asmussen at 4-1. Guys, bringing up our picks on the screen right now. Patrick and I are both going with the number 4, Mulligan. Noah, I completely understand going with the number 5, Bookham Dano. Noah, obviously I'll let you go first, as you are the differing one here. Look, he ran absolutely fantastic last time, and I had him on top for a long time because if he gets the same trip he did last time, which on paper it almost seems like he will, I mean, he could just easily run the same race and win again.
Yeah, and I kind of almost think the 6 furlongs might benefit him a little more than maybe it does Mulligan, which I'm a little interested to hear what you guys have to say about that, because I thought if this was 6.5 or 7, I'd be a little more interested in Mulligan. But I think you got to pay attention to the fact that even though it's been mentioned earlier, obviously Paco is here to ride this horse. So I think that's got to speak volumes a little bit. I mean, he's really good right now. His win last time, he's had a really good third just off the speed and just kind of ran right by Mulligan. I didn't really see too much of an excuse for Mulligan. Maybe you guys have something that contradicts that. And then the horse, I gotta address this, because the horse that I actually like quite a bit in that race was Concrete Glory, who did absolutely no running, but then came back and ran, I believe, a 96 buyer last weekend on the carousel at Saratoga.
Shoved me in a locker,
at like 10 or 11-1. So yeah, I had the right idea, just didn't get him at the right day. But yeah, I'm all Bookham Dano here. And then I'm a little interested in Skelly just because his races when he came back as a 6-year-old, I mean, those 2 races at Oaklawn, I know it's at Oaklawn and, that's Asmussen's backyard, but I mean, just based off of numbers, those are very good. And last time he got pressed all the way around by world record. I don't see anyone in this race that's got world record speed. And if you give me 4-1 on him, I feel like he, could maybe be the bet in here. Just kind of depends on how the 4 and the 5 get bet in here. But just on top, going Bookham Dano, nothing crazy, clever.
And that's kind of why I like Mulligan, Pat. And I understand the 7 versus 6 furlongs angle in here, but I feel like if Skelly just blitzes out there, Mulligan sits right behind him. And whether, maybe, and obviously Bookham Dano showed the ability to really set a nice trip last time out, which could be the deciding factor here. But if Mulligan just sits right off of Skelly and gets first run, I think he might just trip out completely in this race, whether he's the best horse or not in the race. I feel like he just might completely trip out.
Yeah, and I want him to get back on a fast track.
Yes, I agree with that.
That Forgo win was very impressive, and I'm really hoping he can get back to that form. Noah makes all the valid points. Bookham Dano beat him on the square last time. There's no excuse there. But I'm just kind of trying to reverse course here and hope Mulligan, gets back to where he's been in the past. This is just such a fun horse. I was big on him in the Churchill Downs at on Derby Day, but that was a great race. I mean, he was right there most of the way. But this is another fun race. And the one thing on Skelly, and I think it's brought up in the chat, Asmussen's never really had this horse. He's never put this horse really like in a position where he puts his top sprinters. I feel like, I don't know what you guys think. I don't know. I just feel like he's kind of been a little scared to put him against tougher competition. He's doing it now. We'll see. I mean, listen, this horse is ultra fast. Just look at the time form, right? But yeah, no, it's this is an interesting race.
It's a very interesting race, and the fact that he's so fast is they have it favoring front runners, and it's just Skelly. Even though Mulligan loves to either be on the pace or sit literally right off the leader, Skelly is probably 2 lengths the fastest according to time form. I mean, 137 time form is probably one of the fastest I've ever seen early, if not the fastest I've ever seen. And obviously it's reflected in the PPs. Yeah, I just don't know if Skelly, I mean, he's 6 now. I just don't know if he's as good as a lot of these other sprinters. Obviously, just based on Beyer, he is. But again, they're all at Oaklawn Park. I mean, there's one he ran second in the Vanderbilt last year to Nakatomi, who we know if Charlie was on the screen, he probably would have picked Nakatomi on top, being with the Wesley Ward bias that he is. But it's just one of those things that really, when Skelly gets put against this type of competition, besides the Vanderbilt last year, he kind of just runs a dud. And I mean, imagine he probably could sit in for a piece just because of the pace scenario. But it'd be, again, if he wins, I wouldn't be surprised just because of the carousel that Saratoga has been so far. But again, it's at what's probably going to be a similar price to Mulligan. I'd be much more inclined to take Mulligan than Skelly. The only other, Nash is one that Noah had last time, I believe. Then I don't know where the hell that came from last time out, but this is a horse that really, it just grips me every time. It's this one and Best Actor are the 2 horses that I see every time, and it just makes me want to punch a wall. But obviously he's very talented. It's just a matter of, does he class up to run like this? I'm skipping this. I don't even know what the hell to do with that guy. And Nakatomi, obviously, who probably his best years are a little bit behind him. However, he loves Saratoga and showed that he can run a very good race. The only ones I haven't talked about are the number 2 Full Moon Madness, who's probably getting into very good form. Just a matter of, again, does he class up to this type of competition? And Damon's Mound ran a great race at Delaware last time. This will be second off the layoff for Belmont. Obviously, this is a big step up for him. Won the Gallant Bob at Parks 2 years ago. Just a matter of, again, are his best days behind him? But if he can back improve off that 94 after being off, for over a year and now being off another layoff, he could just be ready and could catch a piece at a really, really nice price. But guys, this is a fantastic edition of the now grade 2 Alfred G. Vanderbilt handicap. Of course, a lot of you people will see this race now and argue that this should probably just still be a grade 1. However, and I don't know. It's one of those things that gets so far into the weeds, especially on Twitter, that it's just like, don't even want to start. You don't even want to get into it. But it obviously is a very interesting conversation to have for sure. In race 11, the Vanderbilt, I'm going 4-5-1. Pat's going 4-5-8, and Noah's going 5-1-4. Guys, moving into the last race, which of course is going to be some type of allowance race, as Saratoga always loves to do. It's an allowance optional N1X, an allowance N1X, 110,000, 7 furlongs on the dirt with a full field of 12. And as I put our picks on the screen right now, both Noah and I are both going with the number 9, Invictus, who is the second choice on the board at 4-1. Pat is going with the morning line favorite, the number 6, Stars and Strides, off a huge debut for Junior Alvarado and Belmont at 7-5 on the morning line. And the third choice goes all the way up to 8-1 in this race with the number 5, Antonio of Venice. Pat, I'm going to let you go first. That debut for Stars and Stripes, and obviously I'll let you talk more in detail about it, but I mean, you see a lot of those at Gulfstream where they get that low 90s off the bat. It's very rare you see it at Saratoga, and the fact that this one did it only winning by a head, I feel like is even more impressive.
Yeah, that was a good debut, especially for for the Belmont barn, considering he usually likes, as we've always talked about, have the horse get a race in them. But yeah, he's been working really, really well of late, and I think they got some high aspirations for this horse. I could see a stakes race next time, hoping all goes well in this race. I believe the horse that came in second as a bit of a negative ran today at Saratoga.
Yep.
And didn't do too well as the favorite. And Secured Lender also came back to not run well. But just visually, guys, I think that Stars and Strides is just an improving horse that won on debut very impressively. And I think the numbers kind of point that this horse is just very, very good.
And obviously, this is also, I like that Bill Mott didn't take a huge step up, because obviously running a 92 on debut, you can take a step up, that's warranted into, a three-year-old stakes company, maybe a listed stake or something like that, Noah. But I like that he's kind of, easing this horse into it, as Bill Mott does with a lot of his horses. You don't see very aggressive moves from him. But if he runs really well in here, the obvious choice would be to take him in the stakes company next. But again, obviously with all these horses that have come back out of that race, haven't run very good. It's a matter of, how good really is that race and how might it affect Stars and Stripes in this race being at such a low price.
And I think this move is kind of typical Mott fashion, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not one to throw him into deep waters right away. I respect. I think it's pretty much a 2-horse race, the 6 and the 9. But do I really want 7-5 on a horse that beat Mainstream, who's lost now 4 times at a short price? I don't really know. He's facing winners for the first time as well. I talked about it. I'm not going to take that horse at 7-5 doing that. So went with the 9 Invictus, who Kyle, I'll let you touch on a little bit as well, obviously, because you got him on top and you run the show. But Invictus, his win at Keeneland, I was actually there. I was very impressed with it. Beat Camp Hale, came back and won at Churchill. Actually, the horse had beat him last time, but I just thought his allowance effort last time, there was a lot of things that didn't go right. Didn't break well.
Yeah.
He was really wide, and I think he was like 8 or 9 wide out in the parking lot on that Churchill stretch, and closed pretty well. So maybe there is some versatility to him, because I know there is a lot of speed in here, especially with the presence of the 12 rookie card. That's certainly going to heat things up. So maybe Franco can work out a trip, maybe save some ground, and kind of get towards the back of the pack. Maybe not too close as he's been recent, and then maybe come with run and see how that works out.
I think he'll probably be what he was last. I don't know if it's going to be that big of a disparity, like 7-5, 4-1 in this race. I think he'll probably be somewhere in that 5-2 range. However, he does not want to be 11th. I'll tell you that much, at least based on his last couple. I don't think he needs to be on the lead at all necessarily, i.e. that Keeneland race. If he just sits somewhere in that, first, second flight, like 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there, I think he can run a very nice stalking trip and just pounds at the top of the stretch. However, no, I don't know if there is that many. And obviously the Lasix angle too is not one I pay attention to. Howard brought it up. Maybe he needs Lasix and gets it. Again, it's not an angle I pay attention to too much, but obviously the 92 and the 84 will both run with Lasix and gets it back on here again, which could be a very good indication on how he's going to run. I don't know if there's that much or like true early speed in here. And the fact that number 12 rookie card, it draws all the way to the outside means obviously he has to gun it. This is one of those horses that Charlie was huge on early. He talks about it all the time with that race with Tip Top Thomas last August at Saratoga. And obviously Tip Top Thomas came back to win a race we covered here on the podcast with the Indiana Derby. And man, I have so much fun out there, but man, you want to talk about an absolute conveyor belt. That was a conveyor belt that day. And it really did not do me too many good favors. But if rookie card can get up to the front, this is, and Howard, I think, put it best. This is an all or nothing type where he either gets out to the front and runs a super good race, or he just does not make to the front and runs it, last by at least double digits. This is, again, I don't like that he's drawn the 12 post. However, with a whole lot of not a whole lot of speed to his inside, single-minded, much better with the target. Kalahari Dreams will be up close, but not on the lead. Invictus will be somewhere in the middle. Executive Order is kind of, in between as well, where he wants to be. Fifth Avenue is going to want to be up front, but that's kind of, looks like cheap speed on paper. Stars and Strides wants to be close, but not up on the lead. So I feel like there's a lot of like those middle type horses where they want to sit close, but still with a target. And if Rookie Card can get out in front, especially with the way the track's been playing as of recent at Saratoga, obviously we'll keep an eye on it as we get closer to Saturday. But with a dry track, I really like Rookie Card to at least run a good race and try and catch a piece at a pretty decent price. I've been wrong before on him, and I'll try again with him here. The only other horses I want to talk about real quick, Noah, you have Kalahari Dreams in there, and Pat, I'll let you talk about your three briefly, and then we'll move on to best bets.
Yeah, no, he's just maybe an underneath horse. I like this win 2 back at Churchill. Just got a nice stocking trip. I don't know how that's going to work out. Maybe on Saturday with the 12, maybe gunning and making things interesting. But his last race, it was just a weird race in general. There were a lot of horses bunched up early. A lot of horses kind of like were checking back, and he kind of got the brunt of that. And he was actually, bet pretty well by the public that day. I guess the concern obviously is maybe he's not good enough, and he's got 1 win but 4 seconds. So just mainly an underneath play for me. I'm mostly 69 in here.
Yeah. When in doubt, bet the 69, I believe, was a very famous coined by one of my good friends at Arlington. When in doubt, bet the 69er. And no, Pat, the last horse you have is 10-1. Vekoma Rides. John Kimmel puts this horse second off the layoff. I mean, really, this horse, besides the champagne, this horse really hasn't done anything wrong. It's just a matter of, will he class up?
Yeah, that's fair. And I do think I remember liking this horse actually in the champagne a little bit at 10-1. That was more of an underneath play. And the horse kind of just lost by 16 lengths, did not run well watching that replay at all. But I will say, this will be second off the layoff. We'll get the blinkers for the first time, which could help after watching that last race. I don't know. I'm going to play this horse as Noah is with Kalahari Dreams underneath. And kind of play, maybe some tickets, pick threes and doubles, just if, the 6, at the odds that he's probably going to be, especially with a clear second choice, I think you could find a price.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I agree with you completely. In a race where you have these types of what we envision as 2 clear-cut horses on top, leaves a ton of room for a lot of other horses underneath. And literally exactly right there is why I don't bet trifectas, is because of exactly what I just said right there. But guys, that'll obviously bring us to best bets here. Pat, I'll let you go first. Noah, I'll let you go second, then I'll go last. Pat, your best bet starting race number 8 with a pick 3 going 4-9, starting in the Caress. That, of course, is Carriou and the 9. Wait, no.
It's going to start
race 8. Sorry, I'm a moron. I literally read that and then still went to race 9. So my apologies. It starts with 4-9 in that race. That is Taraj. I was like, that 9 didn't. I don't remember talking about that. The number 9, Padiddle in that race. In the Caress, you're going 4-8, which is Carriou, and the 8, who is Time to Dazzle, and then singling Immersive in the Coaching Club American Oaks. And then race 11, a win on the number 4 Mulligan, which we talked about a lot.
Yeah, you brought them all up, Kyle, so I won't elaborate too much. My idea with the pick 3, I'm probably going to have, especially in the first leg, a favorite, but I'm hoping, obviously it's a soft favorite, because in the turf sprint, the Caress, I'm trying to catch a price in there into Immersive. And then, I'm between Immersive and Take Charge My Lady, so I'll see what I have to do if I can get to the third and final leg there. But Mulligan, yeah, I'm hoping, he gets back to, his 4-go win. I know it's going to be a furlong shorter, but I'm really excited to watch that race from Monmouth Park and what's going to be a fun Saturday. I'm looking forward to hearing your guys' best bets, and shout out to Katie. The guys haven't even announced their best bets, and I already won, so I appreciate that.
Dude, it happens every week, man. We're just not even included in this. I swear to God, it's a Pat podcast, and the rest of us are just along for the ride. Obviously, Pat, good luck with your best bets, and we're gonna have an absolute blast on Saturday. Noah, you and I in best bets are going to look very similar yet very different at the same time. Race number 8, which is the first race we talked about, the optional claiming N1X. You're going with the win on the number 6. Better lucky than good. I know one person that's going to especially like that, being, of course, Matt Guterre. And in race 10, Coaching Club American Oaks with win on the number 4, Take Charge, Milady.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get some brownie points from our good buddy Matt Guterre for the Adelphi plug and the pick here, but I'm anticipating a big race from him, second off the layoff, stretching out to, I believe that's 9.5 furlongs on Saturday for the first time. And like Pat said, I think you're going to get a price on anyone in there. So hoping I get every bit of 6-1. And then fast forward to race 10. I'm a big fan of Take Charge, Milady, as you can kind of tell, as I said very bluntly in the analysis. I'm just not a huge fan of immersive. So going with Take Charge, Milady. I think her win last time was pretty good. Don't know if she was necessarily fully cranked. Hopefully we get the best version on Saturday, and good luck to you two.
Yeah, look, I mean, you're going to discuss what's up, Pat. Go ahead.
No, are you going to be at Del Mar on Saturday?
No.
Oh, all right. I was going to say, because I know Matt Guterre and his whole clan is out there for opening weekend. So
are they?
I was going to say, you should watch that race with him, because that'd be pretty fun to get a video of that.
I might have to get his number, send him a little text.
There you go.
Absolutely. Obviously, Noah, good luck with you. And again, I said mine are going to be very similar yet very different. And it's same races, 2 completely different horses. I like in race 8, I love the number 7 Mayor of Midnight again, facing winners for the first time. And again, this is completely hinged upon that the horse does not go. I like 4-1 is even fringe for me. I think below 4-1, I wouldn't want to touch this horse at all. 4-1 is really encroaching on it. 9-2 or 5-1 is where I really want to take a swing on this horse. And again, just hoping that the connections do not bring this price down on this horse. I think if this horse maybe was ridden by Flavian Pratt, this horse might be 5-2, let alone the 9-2 that's listed on the morning line. In a race 10, guys, with again everything with Saratoga for these first couple weeks, I really think Licara is about as good as anyone in this filly division right now. And if she can continue that front running speed, they have to catch her, and they haven't caught her. Besides the Kentucky Oaks, they haven't caught her a lot coming into this race. So I really do like Licara, at least if she's. And I like her for the sole fact that I think Immersive is going to take a lot more money than what she's deserved for, just because being the Breeders' Cup champion and all. Guys, that will do it for another edition of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. Again, tons of viewership today. We cannot do this without you guys, so we really, really appreciate all you guys watching. If you guys are still watching this as a replay, please go down below the video player and comment. You can comment your best bet of the entire day. It can be Saratoga. It can be Monmouth with the Haskell, which of course will be covered tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern. That's Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern with Picks and Ponies. So please tune back in for that, because I know a lot of you guys, if not all of you, will be betting Haskell on Saturday. But again, this card at Saratoga is really good, and it's not one to be missed. For my co-hosts, Patrick Kunsel, Patrick Kunsel and Noah Maher, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, and for episode 139 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast, talking the Saratoga Late Pick 5, which includes the Grade 1 Coaching Club American Oaks. And until next time, everyone, crush those bets, win those photos, stay safe, everyone, and see you on Monmouth on Saturday. We will see you in the next one. Have a good night.